right. Good morning, and thank you all for joining us here today. I'm Liz Elliott. For those who don't know, my last name is spelled E-L-L-I-O-T-T. I am the Director of Lincoln Transportation and Utilities Department. Joining me today is our Transportation and Maintenance Operations Manager, Tim Byrne. His last name, for those who don't know, is B-Y-R-N-E. And then also joining us today is our new Assistant Director of Transportation, Ron Caldy, and his last name is spelled C-A-L-D-I. So, as you can see and feel the air around us, winter is fast approaching. We want you to know that the City of Lincoln prepares for these colder months all year around. For today's winter event, our teams have been watching data all week and are prepared. For this winter season, LTU will continue to prioritize clearing snow routes and arterial streets first, other arterials, bus and school routes second, and if needed, residential streets third. This year, our team is testing out a new method of operation this year. For some storms, LTU will provide private contractor support to provide the opportunity to plow and maintain residential streets, while LTU crews simultaneously treat and plow priority arterial streets. This will assist city snow crews who will focus on plowing the main arterial streets, at the same time creating a more efficient process. We believe that this will give our entire team the ability to be effective, more effective, and increase efficiency to be able to clear snow on neighborhood streets earlier in order to prevent snowpack, ice buildup for longer periods of time. As we all know, every storm is different. This test project will give us the opportunity to develop guidelines and best practices for handling residential streets throughout the city. Our winter operations team will constantly evaluate the storm to determine what plowing operations are warranted. As an example, if several inches of wet, heavy snow falls in one day and additional accumulations are forecasted, we may plow residential streets that received the first snowfall in order to reduce the severity of icing for the upcoming storms. Our crews will test this new method out and evaluate how it goes throughout the year, and then determine if we can continue this effort further. Tim Byrne will now step in to talk about a few other things and provide additional details. So, turn it over to Tim.
Thank you, Liz. As Liz mentioned, our team plans for the winter season year-round. We have nearly 2,900 lane miles of streets in Lincoln. That'd be equivalent to farther than driving from Lincoln to New York and back, or Seattle, Washington and back. So we have a big job to do when it comes to keeping Lincoln streets clear. LTU has more than 7,000 tons of road salt on hand. It's an example of one of our piles, and our brine manufacturing facility is working great. We have put recommendations from the Winter Operations Task Force in place this year, including expansion of our salt capacity by replacing an old, worn-out shed with a larger, more efficient one that allows us to hold more than 2,000 pounds of additional salt than previous. LTU has invested in more technology this winter as well. We went from 6 to 13 pavement sensors to aid us in more accurately forecasting street conditions and guide operational decisions. We've also updated our procedures based on the Winter Operations Task Force recommendations to make the 4-inch rule for plowing residential streets more flexible, as the director was mentioning earlier. This means not every snow event will see the same type of operations. Each snowstorm will be analyzed to determine when and where plowing resources may be needed. With enhanced data collection, we hope to tailor fit this new test program to help better service our community. A plan is made based upon the first forecast, and it is continually modified according to the changing forecast and the conditions that actually develop within our community. With these improvements, we will also with the test program for new residential operations, our team is ready for winter. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. And we'll open it up to questions now, and then after that we will take a brief, kind of give you a tour of everything that's here.
How do you guys determine where in the city to go into residential in this pilot program?
I'll let Tim come up here.
We're going to be taking more depth measurements and physical observations across the city throughout the neighborhoods. Lincoln is a large enough community that although we have traditionally always treated it the same citywide, weather patterns across the city can vary. So we might see several inches more snowfall or maybe some icing events in a portion of the city that we don't see in the rest of the city. So we're going to try to tailor fit that so that we can provide those responses on a better level for where it is needed without expending resources maybe where we don't.
And how does this pilot compare to what the city had previously used contractors for in snow operations?
It's very, very similar. Contractor forces are a key support in delivering our winter operations for our city for not only our arterial street plowing services, but in residential as well. Contractors have always played a critical role. What we are doing different this time is we've asked contractors to bid additional resources that we could use. Smaller units than we have traditionally used. Smaller 3/4 ton and on up pickup plows is a practice we have not traditionally used. So that's the key difference in this. And then with the additional contractors, it will allow us to deploy them earlier on while our forces are completing work on arterial streets. So that getting that 12 to 24 hour jump start into the residential neighborhoods, we're very optimistic will produce a better result.
What inspired this change?
We are always open to new ideas and ways to better serve the community with the resources that we have. This idea was something that came out of discussions with our Winter Operations Task Force, which included members of the community, business members, partners from our other agencies such as LPD, LFR, City Council. So it was an idea that came out of the discussions and brainstorming from that group.
What's the process? You said this is a pilot program. When you get to the season, what's your goals? What's the next step look like after that?
Our goals is that the program continues to flourish and be successful and be cost effective. As we work our way into it and step through different events and decision processes, we'll be working on developing a decision matrix that will help better outline when to deploy specific resources to portions of the city.
Will that have to go back before the city council since there's that 4-inch standard? Is that going to have to go back to the council or some sort of formal piece?
It does not. The 4-inch rule that we loosely address it as has been in place for many, many years. It wasn't actually a formalized rule that was written down anywhere, if you will. It was always our practice and policy. There were some mentions in LMC as far as when a snow emergency would take effect regarding snowfall accumulations.
How does the city, pay for this sort of new labor, and where I guess does the savings come from, or is there new money being diverted for this?
There is not additional funding coming in. What this is going to do is we're going to allow us to deploy additional contractors in those residential areas while we complete arterial work. Traditionally, years past, all of the contractors and city personnel that were working on clearing arterial streets, once those operations are complete, then they would be deployed into the residential neighborhoods. So this new test program is going to be allowing us to have some additional resources that we can deploy simultaneously. So we're going to be spreading the same workload across more units, and the bid results that we received are very favorable. and we can solicit this additional contractor support for roughly the same cost that we typically expend to plow residential streets. So right now, it's looking like there will be no fiscal impact on a per event basis.
So just to make maybe that a little more clear, the savings is expected in less overtime for the city employed crews, is that right?
We're expecting the cost will be relatively similar to the current operation. The benefit to the community is that these resources will be able to enter those residential areas much sooner than current forces are, time they complete work on arterial streets. So that will help us to produce a better result by plowing sooner before waiting 12 or 24 hours post snowfall when we complete arterial work. Then most of us have already left the house, gone to work, gone to school, gone to the store. We drive on those streets, pack that snow down, and then the snow plows have limited effectiveness on it. So by getting in there sooner is how we're hoping to produce a better result.
Does the city have more, how's the labor force in the city employed labor force compared to previous years? Are there about the same amount? How many crews?
Approximately the same amount. We haven't had any substantial growth or lessening of our citywide workforce in years past. So we do maintain about the same number of routes that we have for quite some time. So on arterial streets, for example, we have 20 routes that we maintain, and then we will deploy additional units to each one of those routes when we need to plow. But our city workforce is still strong.
And what's the annual budget for winter operations typically?
Typically, it's right around $4 million. I'd have to get you the specific exactly what it is this year.
Any other questions? All right.
Thank you. Turn it over to Ron.
Thank you very much, Liz and Tim. Thank you to you both. Tim will now be available to provide you all with a very short tour of our supplies for our winter operations. We also have other team members here today that as well to be able to assist and to be cognizant of social distancing. So as we wind things down, I would ask everyone and remind everyone to be cognizant of social distancing and be safe for everyone. And I want to thank everyone for coming out here today. Thank you very much.
These are mixed in different increments to achieve the melting temperature that we were looking for. Yeah, so the sodium chloride is our primary ingredient. It's effective down to roughly 15 degrees. And then as we get colder, we add more of the calcium. It has a lower melting point or lower effective point. And we add more of that as it gets colder, so then it can help melt the ice and snow at a colder temperature.
And this is what you guys put on main roads.
Correct.
Yes,
This is also a city or residential.
Where we use the brine, we will use it as a pre-treatment. So ahead of an event, when you might get up and go to work in the morning, you'll see the safety stripes out on the street. When the events, once temperatures start getting colder and our pavement starts becoming frozen, that's a very good strategy for us when the event is not starting with rain or encompassing rain. So that gets done on all the arterial streets, other arterials, bridges especially, it's critical. And our bus routes and school routes will receive that treatment strategy. And then anytime the granular salt is loaded in the salt spreaders and applied to the streets, you'll notice there's some plastic polyethylene tanks on the trucks. Those will also hold the brine, so as that material comes out of the truck, it gets sprayed and saturated with a liquid brine solution to kickstart the process of going into solution, so that helps debond that snow and ice from the pavement.